Mo Salah is Liverpool's goalscorer, and he's gone off the boil. And what's that done? I think it's shone a light on the others a little bit more. Because I've said before about Virgil van Dijk maybe at the back getting other people out of trouble. Mo Salah's goals, I wouldn't say have got other people out of trouble. When you had Firmino and Mane, that was a front three. But I think what we've seen here now in terms of Diaz, Nunez, Salah, you'd probably class that as Liverpool's front three. The others aren't as clinical as what we've seen before, or certainly Mo Salah. And I think there is a real discussion with a new manager coming in, what the future holds for Mo Salah at Liverpool right now. It's probably the first time we've asked that question because he's only got a year to go on his deal. I think I'm at the stage now with Nunez where I don't think there is a question to ask. I think after 2 years at the club, and I've probably been guilty of this, you want him to do well so much because there's so much of what you like. Because he gives everything, he runs, he causes trouble, he gets the odd goal, he causes an assist. But after 2 years now, and when Liverpool this season are going for the title, and those big games you need your man to score away at Old Trafford, away at Goodison, in the European game at Atalanta. There's no time to waste, this is not October or November, this is the business end of the title. From that point of view, do you not question the timing of it getting released, that Klopp's leaving the club? Because I think over the last few weeks or a couple of months, everyone's saying it's a fairy tale ending, but the minute it goes wrong, I think you have to look at that timing. Do you think that's got something to do with Nunez finishing? No, but I think with Nunez, maybe with Salah, Van Dijk as well, these players now are looking. Klopp's so popular. Even as an Everton fan, I really like Jurgen Klopp. But with him leaving the club, in their heads they'll be thinking, what is my future holds? Am I still going to be a Liverpool player? Do I want to be a Liverpool player? I think that's something which, yeah, listen, there might be something in that. But in terms of Nunez and where the club go forward now, I think after 2 years, I think we've all been in squads where someone comes in. We talk about maybe the first year where you say, okay, he's getting up to speed with it. He's improving, he's getting better, and it looked like he was at the start of the season, and it's ground to a halt, and you're looking at it now, and after 2 years, I don't think there's going to be a massive improvement in him after the 2 years. I think what we've seen in the 2 years, that is what he is. He can cause trouble, he can be erratic with his finishing. It's not going to improve. And I don't think it's going to be enough to win you the biggest trophy, so I think there's a big decision to be made on him in the summer. For me, I think it's, yes, the finishing, we can talk about that. I think, can he play on the left? I think, yes, he can play on the left. Now, if you're saying in a 4-3-3 system, you've got goal-scoring wingers or you've got a goal-scoring number 9, typically it's one or the other. I think in this particular team, you've got a goal-scoring winger in Salah, you've got Diaz who's kind of half and half and half, and you've got Nunez who's kind of half and half. Liverpool, when it was successful, had a goal-scoring Sadio Mane, had a goal-scoring Mohamed Salah, and the number 9, Firmino, would pitch him with assists, and he'd get his goals. Now, there's no continuity in terms of who's scoring, who's getting assists. They're relying on Salah. When Salah's not scoring, Jota is not fit, unfortunately, and he's the one who provides the goals. So in a way, it's like the new manager who comes into the football club is going to have to figure out a way in which to make these players gel. If these players aren't the players who he feels he can gel, then he's going to have to make a big decision. And of course, we can talk about Nunez's finishing. He's got to improve what he needs to improve. Obviously, I'm sitting with 2 of the best finishers we've probably seen in the Premier League. How easy is it to improve finishing? I mean, we've watched him now for 2 seasons. Is that possible to improve that? He will have a good spell when he scores a few goals. We saw that at the start of the season, at times last season. But is he ever going to be clinical? It's practice, repetition, and it's almost like you're training your brain. Once you get in these areas in training, it becomes more natural and you keep finishing. We were talking before about players at the end of training sessions. You see them still 25 yards out, taking shots a goal. If you're a number 9, your finishing should be from 6 yards to 12 yards. You've got to be doing stuff. Do you really think that they're not doing that? No, I'm dead serious right now. With sports science, literally the training session finishes, I've seen it. I've been involved in getting the players in. We used to set out for, I don't know how long, practice and finishing, free kicks, whatever it was. Now, everything's monitored. As soon as the session finishes, it's get in, we want you off your feet. That's a big change in the game. If I wanted to improve, I have to do things in places where I do my thing. I'm going to do a step over in this corner of the 6-yard box, go onto my right foot and try and score in the far corner. I'm going to put mannequins in the corner of the goal. I'm going to ask for the young lad as the goalkeeper. and I'm going to do things at match pace. It might only be 5 or 7, and they might put a limit, but when you're on the edge of the box and you've got the coach next to the goal, or one of the lads, and they're pinning it to the edge of the box, take a touch, time fault, lads, this and that. You know what it's like, you've been there. Do you know what I mean? That's not how you improve, I'm being totally honest. You have to do things at match tempo, maybe less than what you would do. You can't stay out for an hour doing things at match tempo, but 5 or 7 shots at match tempo, doing that every single day, I think you will improve, but you've got to do it that way. You can't be ambling around and joking and bantering this and that. It's not going to happen. Pretty damning criticism from, Liverpool captain Virgil van Dijk, James, and some familiar issues in front of goal. Yeah, Haley, and once again a failure to find the back of the net, once again. That's now the 3rd time in their last 5 matches that they've fired blank. And as has been the case all season, they've lacked a clinical edge in front of goal. Darwin Núñez has had some brilliant opportunities in recent weeks, but he's now not scored in his last 4 Premier League appearances. He's managed 11 goals in the top flight this season, but he's missed 26 big chances. That's second behind Erling Haaland with 30. But Haaland has scored 20 Premier League goals this season. Now, Mohamed Salah and Luis Diaz, they haven't been as clinical as they would like either. But saying that, only Arsenal and Manchester City have scored more goals in the Premier League this season. But it's going to be a case of the goals not scored, which may come back to haunt Liverpool when it comes to this title race. Let's bring Barton and Joe back in here. What else can we put this drop-off down to? To be honest, I don't think many people before a ball was kicked really believed that they were going to challenge for the title. Look, they'd had such a big summer of upheaval, losing Firmino, Fabinho, Milner, Henderson, huge totems of their success over the last few years. They missed out on their first 2 defensive midfield targets, or at least the main targets in Caicedo and Lavia. They signed an entirely new midfield. It felt like it was going to be very difficult for them to win the title this year. They are on track to finish with 82 points this year. That's 15 more than they finished with last year. They progressed deep in every competition. They've got their hands on the Carabao Cup. It's just not been a disaster. It just feels like at the crucial point of the season, the depth that they had in forward areas, and it probably looked like the deepest attack in the league in many ways, they've all gone cold at just the wrong time. Salah scored 6 goals in 13 games since AFCON. For him, that's fairly average. Núñez hasn't scored in his last 6 appearances in all competitions. No goals and no assists in his last 9. So it felt like at the point where you wanted them to really excel into this season, or excel towards the end of the season rather, and finish on a high note, they've just gone a bit flat. Yeah, I'd completely echo what Dougie said. They've gone cold in attack, but they've also gone cold in defense. They've only kept 2 clean sheets in all competitions since February. And I know Virgil van Dijk, people are talking that he's back to his best. I think he has had a good season, but I think he's been a little bit shaky in recent games. I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin was really dominating him and Ibrahima Konate last night. We heard Jamie Carragher say Konate's really not been good enough for the last few months, and that Liverpool need a new centre back in the summer. Like Dougie said, Núñez, Salah, Diaz, they've all gone off the boil in recent weeks. And actually in the last 4 Premier League games, Liverpool's overall shot conversion rate has been below 5%. That's fewer than 1 in 20 shots that they're taking are going into the back of the net. So just at the crucial point of the season when teams like Manchester City click into gear, Liverpool have just clicked out of gear.
Welcome back. You're listening to Backpages Tonight, and it's welcome back to Nolan Grayling. Nolan, your thoughts on Bruno Fernandes? Stay here.
Bruno's the headline, United skipper won't commit. Just sort of hypothetical interview coming out of Portugal. How do you assess the United captain at the moment, his position at the club? A lot of talk about departures in the summer. Yeah, my Portuguese is not very good, but the gist of it is that he's actually going to, very sensibly, he's just going to focus on the cup final, finishing up as high as Manchester United can, and then focusing on the Euros. And then he'll make a decision after that. And we've seen the headlines over the last few days that basically only 3 players are safe. Kobbie Mainoo, Rasmus Højlund, and Alessandro Garnacho. But I'm sure Bruno Fernandes is, at least he cares. I know he moans at referees a lot, and that is really annoying. But he does care about Manchester United and his goal record, his assist records. I think it's 15 and 11. He's been contributing in a very poor season for Manchester United. So whether he's a classic Manchester United captain compared to days of old, probably not. But he does actually care. So I would be amazed if the club wanted to let him go. But there's sort of the broader issue of Manchester United effectively putting or seeming to put for sale signs on most of their squad. You can understand it with some of them. They're on big wages. If they're underperforming, who is necessarily going to come in for all of them? So, I think it's a brave statement, although there are no quotes with it, but it's clearly well sourced, the fact that all these players are up for sale, but actually shifting them is going to be a huge job. But you have to admire what Ratcliffe and Ineos are trying to do. I think the people they need to get rid of most from Manchester United are the Glazers. I think we need Ratcliffe just focusing on if he can take over the whole club and then focus on that, you'll have even more of the fans on site. And that is key because the Glazers are as much the problems as one or two underperforming, well, quite a few underperforming players. So what happens with the Glazers in the longer term?
I assume a few Manchester United fans will agree with Nolan Grayling, but how do you see the captain's position there? Been a great form of late, goal-scoring form, hasn't he? Do you think that makes him unsellable? Or just in a sense, is he one of the only assets they can make money on?
Well, first I'll pick up on what you described him as captain, and that was a contentious decision when he replaced Harry Maguire. Many United fans and observers don't think that he is the right person to lead Manchester United. On the flip side, he is leading by example with his performances, if not sometimes his conduct on the pitch, and he's got a very decent amount of goals and assists again this season, and so he's definitely one of United's superior performers. And amongst those who might go the assets you mentioned, I don't think he would be top of the list. There's been a lot of conversation in this last 24 hours, as ever, around Marcus Rashford. If suitable offers arrive and he would like to pursue a fresh challenge, then that is who Manchester United might look to before. There'll be some others too, the likes of Jadon Sancho, Mason Greenwood, etc. So Bruno Fernandes' comments are interesting, but I guess pretty logical as well. He'll make a decision. He's under contract until 2026. That's normally the time with 2 years to go that you start thinking about renewals, although there is an option to extend further. I would assume Bruno Fernandes will be at Manchester United next season, but what he's pointing to is a stark reality that United are going to look to shift a lot of players. There could be a lot of player changes at the club this summer, but how easy it is to actually move them on, as Nolan said, is a completely different matter. We've seen difficulties at other clubs. Somewhere like Arsenal, they had to pay players to go, and maybe that's something that Manchester United will consider. But under the new regime, they seem determined to improve things on and off the pitch, and some tough decisions are going to have to be made just tonight. We've seen 2 executives who are going to be departing at the end of the season, and you suspect it's not the end of the alterations at Old Trafford just yet.